Generally speaking, the leaders of the CIS droid army weren't the nicest of beings. When Clone Wars fans think of the Separatists' lead commanders, we typically think of ruthless Dark Jedi, bloodthirsty bounty hunters, and the relentlessly monstrous General Grievous. But not all Separatist commanders were monsters, some just ended up being on the wrong side of history. Today, we'll be talking about one such Separatist, General Warm Lothsome, a routinely forgotten character who, despite his name, was actually pretty chill.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
In case you don't remember General Lothsome, he's most well known for his role in the Battle of Christos. In that battle, he commanded the Confederacy's ground forces and ended up outsmarting the legendary General Kenobi, at least for a time. He even had tea with the negotiator as they discussed the Republic's terms of surrender, which was a courtesy that very few commanders afforded each other during the Clone Wars. Naturally, he was repaid with treachery, as Kenobi was just stalling while Anakin and Ahsoka took out the Separatist shield generator. So uncivilized. But let's go back to the beginning. Warm Lothsome was a Kirkoidian, a member of a burly blue-skinned species from the planet Kirkoidia. His homeworld was a fairly unremarkable planet in the expansion region, notable only for its role as the headquarters of the Retail Caucus, a powerful conglomerate with its own droid army. Lothsome entered into military service at an early age, initially serving with the Kirkoidia Planetary Forces, which presumably was a subset of the larger Kira Sector Security Force. However, he ended up leaving the military in favor of a career in the Retail Caucus's private army, in which he rose to the rank of general. He eventually became a leading figure in the Retail Caucus due to his skill as a commander. At the end of the Separatist crisis, the Retail Caucus joined the Confederacy of Independent Systems, and its droid army was merged into the larger CIS droid army. Lothsome thus became a general in the CIS military, put in charge of a sizable army of battle droids, a mix of Trade Federation units and droids formerly owned by the Retail Caucus. Ardent supporter of the Confederacy and the Separatist cause, Lothsome fought in many battles in the early stages of the Clone Wars, proving himself to be cunning, creative, and brave. In the Confederacy, he was considered a hero, and even his Republic counterparts had a grudging respect for him. The defining moment in Lothsome's career came in 22 BBY, when the Confederacy launched its invasion of Christos. Desiring the planet's abundant wealth and resources and the strategic advantage of the control the system would assure, the Separatists committed some of their greatest minds to the offensive. General Lothsome was chosen to lead the ground assault, while Admiral Trench was to set up a blockade around the planet. Asajj Ventress, one of Count Dooku's most trusted Dark Acolytes, was sent to coordinate their efforts. The three commanders were given a sizable fleet, a massive array of tanks, and untold numbers of battle droids to use for the invasion, all but guaranteeing their success. Lothsome easily routed the Republic forces stationed on Christos, quickly seizing control of the planet's major cities and then its outlying regions. Only a few scattered pockets of loyalist resistance were left when the Republic sent in reinforcements. Before Lothsome was able to complete his conquest of Christos, Republic forces were able to break Admiral Trench's blockade and land troops on the planet, pushing Separatist forces back and establishing a beachhead at Chalidonia, the planetary capital. Asajj Ventress initially managed the Confederacy's counteroffensive in Chalidonia, allowing Lothsome to focus his attention elsewhere. However, she ceded command of the front to him after a brief battle with Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Jedi generals leading the Republic offensive. Around this point in time, the traitorous clone Sergeant Slick destroyed most of the Chalidonia garrison's armored support, giving Lothsome an opening to attack. Equipped with a vast horde of battle droids, columns of armored assault tanks and Corporate Alliance tank droids, and several massive Octuptara Magna tri-droids, Lothsome attacked in short order, beginning the first of several battles for the Crystal City. The first offensive involved many feints and diversionary attacks, and it gained Lothsome a fair bit of ground, but the Kirkoidian was ultimately unsuccessful in driving the Republic from Chalidonia. Once the Jedi called in the Star Destroyer Dauntless to provide covering fire, Lothsome was forced to call for a retreat, handing the Jedi a victory. But that wasn't the end of the fight for Christos. After the first battle, Separatist naval reinforcements arrived in system, drawing away the Dauntless and the Republic's air support. Seizing on this, Lothsome launched a second attack, hoping to catch the Republic forces off guard and flatten them. Despite his defeat in the first battle, Lothsome still had a material advantage, as Republic forces had lost all that remained of their walkers and armored vehicles, while he still had columns of tanks. However, this didn't end up making a difference. The Republic had a battery of anti-vehicular cannons set up near their command center, and as Lothsome's forces advanced, the cannons opened up, shredding his droids and tanks with relative ease. Frustrated, Lothsome again ordered a retreat. But our boy Worm wasn't keen to stay down for long. By that point in the battle, he was out of tri-droids, but he still had plenty of droids and tanks left, plus another piece of equipment that he hadn't yet deployed. Not long after the retreat, he began yet another offensive, this time under the cover of a deflector shield. This shield would protect his tanks from the Republic's artillery fire until they were right on top of the cannon battery, at which point the tanks could blow the cannons away. From there, Lothsome would be almost guaranteed a victory, as the Republic's surviving clone troopers stood little chance against his vast army, even with 2 Jedi generals on their side. At first, it seemed like Lothsome's plan went off without a hitch. Before long, he even received a formal surrender from General Kenobi, who he had managed to corner with his command tank. Kenobi, however, insisted on discussing the terms of his surrender before ordering his troops to stand down, inviting Lothsome to discuss the matter over a cup of tea. Lothsome was pretty confident in his victory at that point, and being a reasonable sentient, he agreed. He ordered a servant droid to bring forth 2 cups of Tarine tea, and negotiations commenced. Now, you've got to feel at least a little bad for the poor guy here. He probably would have struggled to overcome the impression of savagery that most beings would get from his brutish appearance, even if he didn't have the cruelly on-the-nose name Lothsome. We suspect that our friend Worm was quite self-conscious about appearing barbarous, and that his remarkable patience and civilized behavior on Christos was an attempt to overcome this stigma. That is, of course, just our theory, however. Regardless of Lothsome's intentions for having tea with the legendary negotiator, the whole affair ended rather unpleasantly for the good general. Kenobi's surrender had not been in good faith. In fact, the unscrupulous Jedi general was just stalling. As the 2 generals discussed terms, Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano snuck over to Lothsome's shield generator and blew it up, allowing the Republic's artillery to shred the advancing droid army. In a terribly uncivilized move, Kenobi took Lothsome hostage and demanded the Separatist general's own surrender, to which the Kirkoidian reluctantly agreed. Reinforcements arrived for the Jedi soon afterward, and the Battle of Christos ended with a victory for the Republic. Lothsome left Christos in restraints, humiliated at his defeat in what should have been a sure Separatist victory. He was taken to Coruscant, where he received a military trial, as he was still considered to be part of the Kirkoidia planetary forces. Unsurprisingly, the Republic courts found him guilty on dubious charges of treason, and after a lengthy interrogation, he was put in solitary confinement at the Republic military base on Coruscant. He remained there up to and through the rise of the Empire, and it's unknown if he ever saw the light of day again. That's a rather ignoble fate for such a civilized being, if you ask us. So, that's the story of Worm Lothsome, the Separatist general who wasn't really all that loathsome at all. Sorry, we'll see ourselves out. Feel free to post your thoughts in the comment section below. And just before you go to scrub that Billar picture out of your mind, make sure you check out some of our links in the description below, including our new channel called The Braved, where we go through all different eras of history to find some of the most badass individuals and make an epic story with some sick edits that I'm sure you guys will all love. If you just want to listen to some music, check us out on Relax Jack, where we take a lot of the music from there and use it in these videos. And if you just want to join us in the wider community, check us out on our Discord and Geetsly's gaming network. Anyways guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.